going to be recording. Yeah. Yep. And here we are live. So I just want to make sure everything's going. Let's see. Let's see. I just want to make sure I share it everywhere where I can. Let's see. Oh, 29 shares. Wow. Okay, so let's see. So are we? Let's see. Oh, right. I forgot this. So okay, just making sure I have what I need. Then it gives time for people to jump on. You know. So let's see. Thank you for your patience. Let's see. Did I reshoot it? Did I? Let's see. Yeah, I did. Okay. Okay, so you ready to get started? And counting down in 3, 2, 1. And here we go, folks. Thank you, everyone who is joining us. I am Christopher D. Casson, and I just an autistic adult that just wants to reconnect with the world and just learn more about it. And here with a very special guest here that I'm thankful for joining. She is Janice Hooker-Fortman, who is an authentic keynote speaker, corporate trainer, author, life coach, and a motivational and inspirational speaker for different organizations, companies, and individuals. She was recognized by the National Association of Professional Women as the 2013 and 14 Professional Women of the Year for leadership and public speaking, and chosen as one of the top 10 most influential women on the South Side of Chicago, and a VIP member of Women Speakers Association. I hope I got everything there, because that's quite a lot. So I just want to thank you again for coming to share your wisdom.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and we kind of discussed this right before the show, but how are you handling this pandemic so far, considering all the shutdown?
Well, I'm trying not to get cabin fever. I step out. Today was really nice. It was about 58, 59 degrees. So I did go out and just start my car. Didn't go anywhere, but just to get a little fresh air. And then I've been doing little projects around the house that, little things that have needed to be done. So now that I have time, doing a little projects. But the downside is that before this is over, I will probably weigh 500 pounds. because I'm cooking, pulling down recipe books.
Yeah, making use of what you have,
Right. You go by the refrigerator, you open it up and like, what's this? Oh, well, let me have a little bit of this. So that's the downside for me.
Yeah, for me, I've just been stocking up on vegetables and food and just making smoothie bowls and, just different soups.
All right, Mr. Healthy. I've been eating cookies.
Because on occasion, I might go for a treat. It's tempting. It's really tempting because I have quite the mean sweet tooth.
So do I.
Yep.
Yeah. I have to conquer mine. You conquered yours.
Well, not quite. Not quite. You put a French silk pie in front of my face, I'm eating it within a night. Oh man. So and and man, that's not even making me. but, but anyway, anyway. So of course we're going into entrepreneurship, and you know, you're you're definitely big into that, and with everything you have done, just as I listed. So I'm like everyone has an origin story, of course. So did you, when you would decide to start this different path in comparison to others that are going the typical 9 to 5, did you meet up with any resistance from others around you when you decided to do this?
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm a retired educator, and people would say to me, well, now that you've retired, why don't you just relax? But I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit, but
Mm.
I still get, when are you going to stop? When are you going to sit down? And I answer, why should I? If it's something that I really love doing and it's a way I can really help people. But yeah, I still get
Mm.
pushed. I still get pushed back.
Mm.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, because usually when people get towards get older, they start thinking, "Oh, it's too late. When we're not going to be able to do it." And people like you keep showing time and time again that's never too late. Such as Colonel Sanders, of course, when he decided making one last attempt and started selling chicken. Now KFC's all over the place. So
Right. Exactly. To me, it's never too late. I mean, you can look at Betty White.
yeah,
Look how long she was going and, a viable person and entertaining. So to me, that's the way to stay young, is to be
yeah.
active and still have your vision and still try to pursue whatever it is you want to pursue, because when it's over, it's over. It's over.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, especially since it was just in my head, but it's about to come back. Okay. And of course, don't mind me, folks. This is just how my mind sometimes works.
You need a
Sometimes,
cookie.
but yeah, those are. Well, we're just gonna move on from that because I know it's gonna come back sooner or later. I know it will. But yeah, and part of the things that one of the things I've noticed, just looking stuff up, is that you believe that the effective communication is the foundation of all relationships. So, could you go further in elaboration with that and what you do?
Yeah. Well, let me tell you why I really like doing workshops and coaching on effective
Mm,
communication, how it started. But in my personal life, the person that I wanted to understand me and listen to what I would say, and that I really wanted to be able to communicate with very well, was the one person that misunderstood almost everything I said. It would take it the wrong way.
mm,
And that person really was my mother. And I'm the only
mm,
girl. And so we would bump heads all the time. And one day I asked her, what is it? Why is it that when it whatever I say to you, a lot of times you would just take it the wrong way? And she told me, she said, it's the way you look when you're speaking with me, it's your body language, it's
mm,
the way you sound, it's the language that you use. And I started thinking, I didn't realize that I wasn't really communicating. In other words, she wasn't understanding the words that were coming out of my mouth in the way I meant it.
mm,
And so I started thinking that maybe this is what's happening. I was still working then, and I would have to sit in board meetings. And I started thinking, well, maybe is this why a lot of times when I'm trying to get my point across, no one listens, or they're not understanding me? Is it because of the way I'm communicating? So what I did, I started doing some research and into vocal variety, your body language, your facial expressions, and all this has to do with the way you communicate. So I just started watching different people and just watching the way I communicated. And it's so very important. If you're a salesperson, if you are a leader of a team, it's just so important to know effective communication, that everything plays a part. Nonverbal plays more of a part than verbal. So it's really
Yeah.
important if you want to succeed in your personal relationships and your professional relationships.
Yeah, I could definitely relate to that because, I happen to be on the autistic spectrum, if
Mhm,
any of you guys don't know. So for me, it's Asperger's syndrome.
mhm,
So I know exactly, I have great amount of difficulty recognizing these things. So to me, it seems like I'm talking, but to someone else, it's like, oh, your tone of voice or whatever, and gets all offended, and I don't recognize it at all. And it's
mhm.
just all this difficulty, and that goes for anyone on the autistic spectrum, men, women, and especially with it's actually easier to recognize and diagnose autism in men than it is with women. So a lot of autistic women end up growing up thinking there's something wrong with them and not recognizing these cues. So it's just, yeah,
Really? I didn't know. That I
I
didn't.
didn't know either, but I end up reading up on it, and it was like, well, really? It's just,
Wow. Wow. But even like I said with me, I didn't recognize it. I didn't.
hmm,
And the funny thing is, I started talking to some of my friends, and
hmm,
they would say, "Well, yeah, Jan, sometimes it's the way you say certain things," and
hmm,
and I didn't recognize it, but now I do. Now I do,
hmm,
and I see how important. Well, communication is everything.
yeah.
So I really see how important it is.
Yeah, hold on. It's just, the dog wants to patrol the house. Yeah, he's always like that. But and but yeah, I definitely see that. And the thing I was wow, this is one of those evenings. Maybe it's from me learning so much, hearing so much about this pandemic. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, yeah, it's it's
yeah,
it's
just
it's stressful, and even though some of us, you sometimes feel that you're not affected by it, especially if you're not ill. You stay in the house and you're trying to do your usual routines, but it is very stressful because it's even if we're not talking about it, it's in
mhm.
our subconscious. It's
Yeah, especially with the way it's communicated to us. Actually,
yeah.
with the way the media is.
Right,
But
because we're getting different messages,
yeah,
and if we could get one message to everyone and everyone listen to that, it would be so much better. But like you say, you hear this, you hear that, you don't go out. Well, you could go out, but stay 6 feet away. Well, don't go here, but you can go there. You can go to the park. What? So yeah.
and it's just, yeah, and even hearing about the Chicago mayor just recently saying about the possibility of not no parks. So it's just
Yeah, right.
pandemonium. But yeah,
Right,
I
right.
know it's just,
Yeah, yeah.
and just the way that it's shaping up, it just seems like some people think it's all doom and gloom. Sometimes they are just dropping just Netflix and chill and just all this other stuff, and just resisting taking a definite opportunity to really go the entrepreneur route per se, and just what, and even before the this whole pandemic stuff with you know, people just not going for that dream. And I don't know. What's your opinion on why some people, especially say the women's side, why do you think they hesitate? Why do you? What are some of the things? Because to me, it's never just one reason. It's usually a bunch of them kind of knit together.
First thing I think is fear.
Hmm.
Uh, Fear that you won't succeed.
Yeah,
Fear that you might succeed. Um,
fearing that you might succeed.
yeah,
How?
yeah,
It's,
I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that. But to tell you the truth, I would wonder myself, why aren't you following up on this? Or
mm,
different things. Why didn't you pursue that? Why? And
yeah,
even though I would think that I'd really be good at doing this, or I could really help this person, or maybe this corporation will hire me. Why didn't I pursue it? And it wasn't,
mm,
to me, the fear of not succeeding. It's crazy. It was the fear. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I kind of
mm,
understand the fear of success. It's crazy to me, but there's that fear. There's that fear. And then with women, there's still the what do you call it? The old boys club, because
yeah,
um, a lot of times when you are trying to present yourself, or then there's that feeling that you can get sometimes that you are
mm.
not really paid attention to, or
Taken seriously.
you're right, you're not being taken
Mm,
seriously, and you should be at home, or you really can't do the job like a man could do it. And so a lot of that
mm,
plays in with women. And then, of course, women who are moms, you
mhm,
have that feeling of you don't really want to take that time away from your family, from your children,
mhm.
or from your husband. So it's a lot of issues that women have trying to be an entrepreneur. But at the same time, if you see what's happening now with women, there are more and more and more women entrepreneurs that are really stepping out and pursuing their dreams, pursuing their visions, and just overcoming what, the fears, or the drawbacks that they feel.
Yeah, I remember listening to a video one time. I can't remember her name, but she moved to Los Angeles with only a few dollars in her hand left, and she ended up having a baby, and she was just really struggling, and she just made a promise to herself that what was that? It was it was really it was really good. It was just that she was gonna make sure that her child was not gonna live in poverty and end up with the gangs and all that ever.
Mhm.
Period. She was gonna do what she can to provide him the best
Yeah,
that he could live with.
yeah,
And sometimes that's all the inspiration that really pushes you, and sometimes you just need to have that strong why, especially now with things turning upside down with this,
yeah,
that you just have to go for it.
yeah. That's very important, Christopher, that you said that. You have to recognize your why.
Yeah.
Why are you doing? And your why? Once you recognize your why, I think you're really motivated and inspired to pursue your dream. Like you said, with her, she was making sure that her child was not going to live in poverty. And so,
Mhm.
how did she do that? What did she do? She really pursued. She was persistent in that dream. So that's what it really, I think, to be a successful entrepreneur, you really have to be persistent. You have to keep your eye on the prize, no matter what. anyone says.
Mm.
Because you can even just look at people like Tyler Perry.
Mhm.
I mean, he was homeless, living in his car. And he started out here in Chicago.
Huh,
And
I
I
didn't know that.
remember going to some of his plays, and there would be just a few people there. And, we would talk, oh, these plays are so silly, but he had a dream. Look at him now.
Yeah.
You know, look at him now. That's just having faith and being persistent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've certainly been persistent since now you are the, let's see, a visionary author for Braveheart Women, the largest international online community for female visionaries. So, how did you come across this group, and what was the experience like with working with others with a similar mindset? Because do
Well,
you believe that? Oh, go on.
oh, no, no, go.
Uh,
You finish. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and is it basically like the old saying that you are like the five people you hang around most with?
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. Well, actually, I was just scrolling the internet and
Mm.
I saw Braveheart Women, and I sent in a proposal. Well, first I went to a conference in LA, and I really liked what they were doing. And it was all about networking and seeing how women could support each other with their, entrepreneurship. And they needed someone to write an article for their newsletter at the time. And but they wanted it to be they wanted to see if you were visionary. And so I wrote an article. And then after that, I wrote an article once a month for a year. And because I really enjoyed writing. And it was great to be around women who were extremely supportive. Now, that's something that's very important. You must surround yourself with people who support you, who support your vision. Um,
Mhm.
and if you have people, I know you asked earlier about people, that uh, did not support you in the beginning and
Mhm.
were pushing back. And in the end, you really have to keep them at a distance, really. You have to surround yourself with people who really support you. You really do. So that's extremely, extremely important.
Yeah, definitely. People that support you around you. People who
Yeah.
don't, quarantine them.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much. Oh man. Yeah, it's just let's see. Yeah, and from that, speaking of writing, you did have written several books, such as the little book of big behavior interventions made for teachers dealing with common misbehavior problems in classrooms. How not to throw mama from the train. Yeah, I was like, well, that's a weird title,
Here,
but I
here we go.
oh,
The
there it is.
secrets
Yes,
to how not
yes,
to throw mama from the train.
yes, and this is on the challenging relationship between adult daughters and the elderly mothers. So I
Yes.
assume, of course, we kind of briefly went into it, but I believe with maybe some of your writings are influenced from your past. So what challenges did you face in becoming an author, just getting started, and what are some of the common mistakes that first-time authors should keep in mind when starting off if they want to go
Well,
that route?
what I would tell first time authors is just write. Don't
Mhm.
worry if it's in chronological order. Don't worry about the grammar. Whatever comes into your head, just write it. If it comes
Mhm.
into your mind in the middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, get up, either write it or tape yourself. Um, so the challenge that I had was really because it's more of a memoir. it's a self-help book, and also a memoir, was to really get my feelings out and being vulnerable, and knowing that when people read the book, they will really see the inside of what I was feeling. So I think that's important. It's also important once you, okay, let me say this. I kept writing and rewriting and writing and rewriting. And finally, I just said, you know what? This is enough. And
Yeah.
so it's important to get a good editor.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, because the first edition of my book, I had gotten an editor, and even though you get an editor and you trust them, you must check them also. And in my
Yeah.
first book, I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and oh my God, you know, they start, oh my God, look at the punctuation. This is wrong. That's wrong. And so I ended up having to go back over it myself. So it's very important to get a good editor, and just to kind of put your book out there to some friends who you trust, and just ask them, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? But to me, I enjoyed the journey. You know, everybody has a story. Everybody
Yeah.
has a story, you know, and there's someone out there who wants to read your story. When I wrote my book, I am still, well, I'm not surprised any longer, but in the beginning, I was really surprised at how many women would tell me, oh my God, you know, I really need your book. I really need to talk with you because I'm having these issues with my mom. And I thought that, well, I'm writing this book really to get everything off my chest. But I found that relationship between mothers and daughters affects everything. It affects your personal life. It affects your professional life. Now, I was really surprised about how it affects your professional life, because I felt my mother was, which she was, was very controlling. And so when I would look for a job, I wanted a job where I could be my own boss, so to speak, you know,
Yeah.
or work only in a 2-girl office, or, you know, and that really came from the fact that I didn't want to be controlled. You know what I'm saying? And
To
so,
be the big boss.
yeah. And so I did some research, and I found out that a lot of careers, especially for women, really depends on the relationship and the communication that you have with your mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's subconscious, you know, but yeah, so it affects every aspect of all of our lives. So when you see a football player or a baseball player and they win something, what do they say? They don't say, hi, Dad. Hi, Mom.
Yeah, I think some of the resistance also is just the fear of judgment, you know, just
Yeah.
what people would think when you write it down and whatnot. But you never know that we always have the tendency of thinking we're always alone in this. And, you know, I'm finding more that we're not, because, you know, such as for me with autism, there's a ton of autism groups on Facebook, and they always try to keep it clean, make it a safe place, whatnot. And it's just, you know, sometimes you writing a book is the one thing that could end up changing someone else's life for the better, just as writing
Exactly.
a book changes yours.
Exactly. Exactly. And as far as autism is concerned, what I like now is that it's so much education about autism, because, you know, not too long ago, people had a certain idea about an autistic child. or an autistic adult. They thought it had to do with their intellect, so to speak, which
Yeah.
has nothing to do with it.
Nope. And even back then, there was some doctors that say that just put your kid away and forget about them. And it's
Yeah,
just, it's like
yeah,
really. But then you have lately people coming out as being autistic, such as Dan Aykroyd, and even lately Anthony Hopkins. He's actually autistic,
yes,
and just and then like Susan Boyle from Britain's Got Talent. Turns out she's on the autistic spectrum, and it's just sometimes you just need to come out and let other people know that you're not alone and that you do have a group, a tribe, or
yeah,
whatever name you would like to use.
and that you can be successful.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially.
yeah,
and and just have to wipe clean away from those that are just I guess you could say playing victim, so to speak, that they think they are not in control of their circumstances and that this is the way it is and we should be stuck this way, and that's not really true at all.
no,
It's just a matter of your mindset.
yes, it is. It is. When I taught school, I taught special ed kids, and I taught kids that had learning disabilities and
Mm,
dyslexics. And what I would do periodically, I give them a list of, look, let me tell you who's dyslexic, and some
mm,
movie star or some entertainer, and they would, what? I'm like, yes, yeah, it doesn't mean that you can't do this or you can't do that. You have a different way of learning, period.
yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, I like to call it like a different operating system. People tend to be Windows. I'm just a Linux operating system, and just because the Microsoft Office works 100% fine on you doesn't mean it's going to work 100% fine on me.
Exactly.
And people complain that why doesn't it work with you? Well, it's because I'm just programmed and put together differently right
Eh,
here in the
yeah,
head.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know. It's just weird that even in this day and age, there are some people that are still resistant to it. It's just
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
always, there's so many different people in the world. It's always going to be.
yeah. Even with man, people. I'm just worrying about people being a bit loud coming home here, so it's just.
Oh, okay.
But you gotta roll with what you got,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the same thing with entrepreneurship. You have to learn how to adapt. So how did you adapt to some of the more toughest situations, such as this going on,
Well,
or
of
or your plans to how to move forward, just as an
course,
example for others to follow?
well, of course, any speaker contract that I had is null and void. Conferences have been canceled. So what I've been doing really is, because this is a new world,
No, it's cool.
time.
Hold on, I'm just sorry about this.
Oh, no problem. Go ahead, do what you have to do. Mhm.
Some people, it's just the way it is. So anyway, continue.
It's life.
Yeah, it's life, just like
It's
this
life.
now.
Things don't always go like you think you want, like you want them to go. You have to go with the flow. But anyway, the challenges now is how I have to have a new mindset and not focus
Mhm,
on speaking in front of large groups of people, more than 10, or giving my workshops. So I'm
mhm,
looking more so now at doing virtual, virtual
mm,
workshops, or and I'm also thinking about putting an online course together, because I
mhm.
think things are changing. Because things are just going to be different. Life
Yep,
as we know it,
they are.
our relationships, our economy. our lifestyles, all of that's going to change.
Mm.
So what I'm trying to do is, as I said, not think outside of the box, but think that there is no box, and
Yeah.
just just wow things, so that I can continue with what I'm doing. So that's it. And so with what's going on now, yeah, I think everybody has to try and think of a different way of doing whatever service that we're doing, a different way, and that's with you and your photography. Just whatever comes into your head, even if it sounds crazy, you know, maybe that'll work.
Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. Take just. Oh boy. Anyway, continue with how people can learn to adapt to these kind of situations, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah,
I said a
go ahead, take care of your business. Yeah, change is hard. Change is difficult, and I'm not going to say that, oh, well, just change the way you're doing this, or just change the way you're doing that. Um, um, it's difficult to adapt to a totally foreign situation, and it's
Yeah.
going to take time. Take time for all of us. Take time for entrepreneurs. It's going to take time for moms at home. I've been listening and looking on
Mm.
TV and the internet about moms that are going crazy, with their
Mm.
kids because they're just not used to it.
Yeah.
Husband and wives, having to go to separate rooms because they're not used to being together all the time. And it's going to take time. This is something totally new, totally different, totally foreign, and we will adapt as people. We will adapt, as individuals. We will adapt. It's either adapt or die. you
Yeah. Pretty much. It's
so,
just.
yeah. So um and I think too is to sit quietly
Mm.
and listen, um just find a quiet place and
Yeah.
and and think of having something rather than outward affecting you, what's in here, what's inside, and let that come out. And I
Yeah.
think that will help as far as being able to adapt to something totally new.
Yeah, because especially when situations like this go on, and then you hear all that news and blah blah blah, and then it's going all noisy, and you just need to have some silence,
Yes,
meditation, and
yes,
just being able to reconnect within when you spend so much time just connecting outside all the time
yes,
with all this stimulus stuff like the apps and the v- video games, movies, and while they're good for, simple fun distractions, but sometimes we let them take over our lives and end up because of that not really going for that achievement that we always dreamed about, or the entrepreneur dream of owning our own business. For I don't know,
yes.
sometimes I think of it as just
This
just
is a good time, actually,
yeah.
to turn off that television and put your phone down, and because you
Yeah.
have time, and just kind of think about what do you value, um,
Mhm.
and that's going to be your why, and just sit
Yeah.
down and think, what service can you give to someone or to people at large. And this is a good time to do that so that when all of this is over, you are prepared.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Because what was I gonna say? I was getting distracted by all that noise outside. It's
Oh,
just
there's a lot of people outside.
well, more like people outside of this studio
Okay.
room, so to speak. It's just, But again, you gotta adapt to your environment, even though it drives you nuts and it just things like that. That's just not normal, really,
Yeah.
and that's just a perfect example just occurring right now. You know,
Okay.
just you have to try your best and hope that Mike doesn't pick up on things and all these other
Well, I
different
can't hear
things.
anything. I don't hear anything outside of your voice.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I was just worried there because it's like beep, 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 and that's kind of like the noise in our head going beep, 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 beep. You can't do this, you can't do that, and it's the thing that people need to realize that it's just a voice. It's just a thought that just comes in, and then eventually it's going to come out, go back into nothingness. But we tend to take, from my view and from my experience with meditation and looking up all this self help, is just that it these thoughts are not you. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just a thought that comes in and then just goes out, but we tend to cling on to those thoughts so much and let it irritate us, so whatever feelings and emotions come, that it ends up distracting us from really just seeing things how they are, you know?
Yeah. I always say, listen to that still small voice
Yeah,
that comes to
I'm
you.
glad you talked.
Yeah, but you gotta be um, in a quiet place, in some solitude, and block out all the noise.
Hmm,
All the noise. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, definitely. And, going the opposite of being silent, you of course have been a speaker on many stages, and I was just wondering, what was the one event in your life that made you decide that you wanted to become a speaker on top of all this?
Well, that's a story.
Mm,
um, I was teaching, and I was in the classroom, and
mhm.
the principal of the school needed somebody to go to this workshop. And I'm like, me, because I thought, gee, it's for a week and I'll be out of the classroom for a week. So I went to this workshop, and I didn't know that it was a trainer of trainers workshop.
Mm.
After the workshop was over and I went back to school, she asked me, how did you enjoy it? And I thought, oh, I really enjoyed it. It was just really great. She said, well, you have to give this workshop to the teachers. And I thought, what? No. She said, yes. That's why you went. That's what trainer of trainers means. And I thought,
No.
oh my God. So there in my school, there were 65 teachers. And this was after school, which meant they had to stay after school.
Mhm.
And I had to give this workshop. Now, it was scripted. I had to give it for, what was it? I think it was for 7 weeks, once a week for 7 weeks. It was
Okay.
scripted. And so, and they weren't getting paid to stay after school. So I had to find a way to get them to come. Well,
Hmm.
that meant food because, oh, she's serving refreshments. and,
Yeah.
and, so what happened is that a lot of the teachers started coming and more came. And then they would say to me, is this what you do after school? Is this your second job? And I'm like, no. Well, you're really good at this. I thought, oh, wow, really? And
Mm.
so I enjoyed that. And then I still wasn't thinking about becoming a speaker.
Mm.
So then after a few years in the classroom, I ended up being a facilitator for Chicago Public Schools. And that's where I had to go out to different schools and train them on what they call response to intervention. So it was
Mm.
teaching the administrators and the teachers of a way to increase reading. And
Mm.
so I was in front of all of these teachers and administrators going to different schools, and I got a lot of good feedback back. But I still wasn't thinking about doing it on my own. So when I retired from Chicago Public Schools, I was asked to be a presenter for the Illinois State Board of Ed.
Okay.
So I started doing that, but still, I'm still not looking entrepreneurial. Like, it's just like,
Yeah,
okay,
there's still that resistance to.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at different educational conferences to make extra money. And I started sending in proposals to speak, and it would be accepted. And then I thought, I think maybe this is my, well, actually third or fourth career. And I had really wasn't a vision board, but I put on my screensaver some palm trees and a picture of Hawaii. And I said, I want to go, and one of these days, I'm going to speak at a conference in Hawaii. And then that will solidify everything. And it came across my computer. HICE, Hawaii International Conference on Education, looking for speakers. I went. I've spoken in Hawaii, and that just kind of like, you know what? I really enjoy imparting information. So if you look back over my career, that's what I was doing all along. Standing in front of even children first, and teaching and motivating and inspiring. And so now that's what I do. And I really, really enjoy it. I really enjoy if it's the mother and daughter workshop, when I've changed a life. I really enjoy that. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how things like that just creep up on you. I mean, before with me, for example, I started off just wanting to create video games, and somehow that just veered off into photography and just went back to me doing live art on live stream, which my original very first thought about a career as a little kid was being an artist. So it's like full circle. Like maybe this is what I'm meant to do, and just there it goes again. It was like, it's just that you never know what could happen if you just go for it,
Yeah.
Oh, and
there's a speech that I give, a presentation, and it's called Are You Listening? And so I said, are you listening to the universe? Because if you look back, even in your childhood, the things that you really like, or even when your kids, not your kids, your friends would ask you to do certain things for them. If you look back and you fast forward to what you're doing now, there's that string. There's that string. When I was a little girl, I liked to play school, and I was always the teacher. Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's just that you just need to. What was the word? But while we have thinking of the word, hey Wanda.
Hi Wanda.
Hey there, and of course, Erin. She's from nonprofit I'm part of. Chemo Buddies for Life.
Oh.
That.
So, I'm trying to get my husband involved in that, because he's a 2-time cancer survivor. And
I was about to ask you about that, because I also noticed that in your description. So, how did some stuff such as someone getting cancer, how does that affect affect you, when you're trying to go this career route and trying to build up, and then that suddenly happens,
Well, you have priorities.
Mhm.
And, it was very important to support my husband in both cancer journeys. So
Mm.
I had to put things aside, but he was so supportive of me. He would tell me, no, Janice, go ahead and do what you have to do, to keep on your journey. But yeah, that's very difficult. It's very difficult to be a caregiver. Um,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, because you kind of lose yourself in it, because you're really, especially for something like cancer, because you don't know really if it's terminal or not, but yeah, it was a very difficult time, a very, but we're both Christians, and
Mhm.
we relied a lot on prayer,
Yeah.
and so uh, thank God he's in full remission. He doesn't have to see his oncologist for another 5 years.
Mm.
So yeah, yeah, it was just, yeah, that was a difficult time. Yeah,
Yeah, and
difficult.
sometimes when you're in those situations where you're just at at the edge of the cliff and you're just wondering, sometimes when you, like I said with Jodie Parr, who was in a previous episode, sometimes when you're just at the very edge and you're just wondering what to do, and you just feel so lost, and that's just when the miracles start coming in, when you just simply ask for help
Yes,
from whether whether it be God or Jesus or Buddha or
yeah,
Brahman, Krishna, blah blah blah.
yeah,
Just whichever belief system you have. Sometimes that also helps you get through the more tougher times when going through stuff like that, and
yeah,
on top of entrepreneurship with stuff that's been happening, because sometimes the answers just come in the most unexpected way.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely, definitely, definitely. Um, he um, he was really a trooper during that time. He really was. Yeah. So yeah, we're very 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 thankful. That
Mhm.
that journey is over. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And if we can, we could also use this as an opportunity to help others going through a similar situation. Kind of like with right now with the pandemic and everyone
Yeah.
buying all the toilet paper for some reason. I'm still never gonna get that. And it's just
Right. What's up with that? Right. But he does. He belongs to a ministry in his church,
Mm,
Sick and Shut In, and so he
mm,
does. Get a chance to be inspirational and supportive to people who are going on cancer journey. Yeah.
mm,
Hmm.
yeah. And it's because of troubling times like these, is that's when the real leaders start showing up, and just this is the opportunity. It's now or never. It's time to step up to
Yeah.
whatever destiny is you know for you.
Yeah.
And sometimes it could be becoming a speaker. Sometimes it could just be even as something as simple as just delivering supplies to someone. Sometimes that could just make the biggest difference, kind of like the ripples in the pond, or just,
Yes. Yeah. And like,
that's what it's all about.
yeah, today I did a Zoom call with some women, and it was just, how are you coping with
Mhm.
being stuck in the house? And it was a lively conversation. It wasn't doom and gloom. It was, we were laughing and joking and talking. So it's sometimes just the little things like that, because if you're feeling isolated, um, that's just something almost everybody can do. You don't have to stay in the house. If you can't go out, if you can't deliver food or to someone, just get on either the phone or a Zoom call, and you can be face to face, and just lift somebody up.
Yeah, because a lot of times when people go the entrepreneurship route, they always think they have to be the next Bill Gates or whatnot, and that's not really true. It's more about how you can affect even just one life that could
Yes.
potentially become that next Bill Gates, and you
Yes.
had your footprint in it.
Yes. You never know. You never know whose life you will affect in a positive manner. You never know what your smile or your words can do to change someone's life.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that. Let's see, and also since we're getting down to the wire, I'm just gonna get to these last few things that I've just been itching to ask, and this one would be, what would be your number one advice for women who are thinking of going the entrepreneurship route, but you know have all those limiting beliefs? What would be that first start, so to speak?
I have one word:
Mhm.
jump. Jump.
Mm.
That's it. Just jump.
Mm. Yeah, I keep thinking of that '80s song, "Might as well jump." Might as well jump.
Might as well.
And since March is actually also National Women's History Month, actually, so this is also why I decided to have, you know, entirely women of this here, just to show that people who overcome that great obstacles, whatever they are, such as maybe thinking that they're stuck in a situation or it's only going to be this way, and just showing people that overcome those, and you're one of them. So I
Thank you.
wanted to ask this as, yeah, you're welcome. And I just wanted to ask, of all the women in history, which one gave you the most inspiration during your journey, and what specifically about it?
Mm, actually, uh, it's not anyone that's in the history books.
Mm.
Actually, it's my mother.
Oh, okay.
My mom was very independent.
Mm.
If she had a goal, she would go after it.
Mm.
Um, she really inspired me. She really, really did. So I can't think of, like anyone in a history book or anyone that's notable to people, but really that's where my inspiration comes from. And people tell me that knew my mother, because she passed in 2017. Tell me,
Yeah.
you're just like her. you know, uh, you you don't sit down. You move. You help people. Um, you're just like her. So
Yeah, you
that's
just
my.
do it in your own way, and I actually like that answer because, we always think it has to be someone famous we can model ourselves against, but sometimes it's just someone local that's just being full of heart,
Yeah, yeah,
and it just evolved that if you wanted to go that direction in your life.
yeah. And Wanda says she has a hard time doing that. Wanda, just jump. Just
Might as well,
what do you have to lose?
yeah, because if you end up, you know, losing everything, that just means you start from scratch like you did
Start
before.
from scratch.
Because you started from scratch at the very beginning, and you got started up again. So there's no reason to really be afraid unless you are afraid of the fear itself, like that saying.
Yeah. My aunt, is long past, she lived to be what, 90s, 94. But she once
Mm,
said to me, she said, Janice, I have done everything I thought I wanted to do. Don't get old sitting in a rocking chair thinking about, gee, what would have happened if I would have? Or, you know what, I should have. She said, you don't want to sit in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth, regretting the things that you had in your vision, things that you wanted to pursue, and you didn't do it. She said, because I've done everything I thought I wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, cool. Within
Yeah.
limits and it's legal.
Yeah, just live life with no regrets. I remember that same kind of advice from Gary Vaynerchuk, actually. So that's kind
Yeah,
of what helps me push through.
yeah, yeah. Live life, yeah, with no regrets. Yeah.
Mhm. Perfect way to end this podcast, actually. So I just wanted to really thank you for spending some time with me and everyone here to share your wisdom. And I just wanted to ask, how can people? Oh, a message. Wanda says, "I am there now. Thank you."
Good, great. Great one.
Yeah. So I just wanted to ask, how can people contact you and just learn more?
Well, you can go to my website, www.drjanicespeaks.com. Yeah, right on there. And you can
Yeah.
also reach me 1-877-66-SPEAK. That's one
Hmm.
eight seven seven six six speak. And you can also just Google Janice Fortman, and you can see me on my LinkedIn, my Facebook page, and my YouTube.
Hmm. Oh, I didn't know you had a YouTube channel
Yeah,
because
I gotta, yeah, just go to Janice Fortman. Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
So I just want to thank you again so much for being able to join me this evening. And of course, if you guys really loved what you heard and want to support the podcast, of course, there's also the Patreon so that you can give support so that we could keep this ongoing and just bring more inspirational people on, such as Janice Fortman. Oh boy. Oh my gosh, my brain is gone. It must be the pandemic. Oh no. Oh no.
No,
No, no, it isn't.
no,
It's just
no,
nope, nope,
no,
nope.
no.
I couldn't save myself there.
Okay.
But yeah, if you want to be able to keep supporting so that we can bring more inspirational people like her to, help others being able to get out of their comfort zone and their shell, just we have the Patreon and of course Facebook and Instagram to hear more and also to continue watching the series, and of course the website www.christophercaston.com/podcast. So, but of course visit drjanicespeaks.com first to just learn more about her and even possibly purchase a book or two, or even book her as a speaker for uh, your next conference, whenever that's
Available
going to be after
on
this whole pandemonium. Mhm. So, this is Christopher Cassidy signing off, and also thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank
So,
you.
take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Bye.